The heavy iron doors of the maximum security wing slammed shut with a deafening echo, a sound that signaled the end of a life. Inside a dim, windowless cell, Elias sat motionless, his eyes fixed on the rhythmic ticking of the clock, the only heartbeat he had left. With 60 minutes remaining before his execution, the warden approached, his voice heavy with a rare touch of pity. "What is your final wish?" he asked. The world expected a plea for mercy or a final meal of luxury. Instead, Elias whispered a name: Max. He didn't want a priest or a feast. He only wanted to see his aging, frail German shepherd one last time. The guards sneered, thinking it was a pathetic goodbye, but they were wrong. They didn't realize that Max wasn't there to say farewell. He was there to point out a killer. To understand the weight of that final wish, you have to understand the bond that began 10 years ago. Elias was a man who lived on the fringes of society, a quiet carpenter who found more comfort in the woods than in the noise of the city. He had found Max as a shivering pup abandoned in a rainstorm, and from moment on, they were a single soul in two bodies. Max wasn't just a pet. He was Elias's shadow, his protector, and his only true friend. They shared meals, long hikes, and a silent understanding that humans rarely achieve. But their peaceful world shattered on a Tuesday night that would haunt Elias forever. A local official was found dead, and through a series of planted evidence and coerced testimonies, the police converged on Elias's small cabin. As they dragged him away in handcuffs, Max had to be restrained, his desperate barks echoing through the trees. The world saw a cold-blooded murderer, but Max saw a man being stolen by a lie. The atmosphere inside the prison grew suffocating as the clock struck the half-hour mark. Outside the high stone walls, a storm was brewing, mirroring the chaos of the public protest demanding justice. But inside, there was only the cold, sterile silence of the death house. The guards moved with a mechanical stiffness, refusing to meet Elias's eyes, as if his impending death was a contagion they might catch. In the corner of the room, a heavy metal door creaked open, and the sound of claws clicking against the polished linoleum floor broke the silence. Max was let in on a thick leather leash. He was no longer the powerful, energetic dog from the cabin. His muzzle was gray, his steps were heavy with arthritis, and his eyes were clouded with age. Yet, as he entered the chamber, a low vibration started in his chest. It wasn't a whimper of sadness, but a low, guttural warning. The warden watched closely, expecting the dog to collapse at Elias's feet in a final show of grief. Instead, Max stood perfectly still, his ears pinned back, his gaze fixed not on his master, but on the shadows standing behind him. The air in the room turned ice-cold as Max bypassed Elias's outstretched hands. The guards froze, expecting the dog to jump up in a final, tragic embrace, but Max's focus was elsewhere. His muzzle wrinkled, baring teeth that had once caught sticks in the park but were now bared in a primal snarl. He wasn't looking at the prisoner. He was staring directly at Detective Miller, the lead investigator who had built the entire case against Elias. As Miller stepped forward to urge the warden to hurry the process, Max lunged. The leash snapped taut, the dog's aging body vibrating with a ferocity no one thought he had left. He wasn't just barking. He was reacting to a specific scent, a smell that had been burned into his memory on the night of the murder. Max began to paw frantically at the detective's leather briefcase, his claws scratching the expensive material with desperate intent. Inside that bag was a trophy, a gold watch belonging to the victim, that Miller had kept, thinking no human would ever look there. The room fell into a stunned silence as the dog's unbelievable intuition laid bare a truth that years of legal battles had missed. Elias watched with tears streaming down his face, realizing that his silent companion had just become his loudest witness. The beast was the only one in the room with a sense of justice, and in that moment, the entire narrative of the crime began to crumble before their eyes. The warden stood paralyzed as the gravity of the situation sank in. Max's relentless snarling at Detective Miller wasn't the behavior of a confused animal. It was the precision of a witness identifying a culprit. Despite Miller's frantic protests that the dog was rabid and should be removed, the warden saw the sweat bead on the detective's forehead. With only 15 minutes left on the execution clock, he made a choice that would define his career. He ordered the guards to seize the briefcase. As they pried it open, A collective gasp filled the room. Tucked away in a hidden lining was the victim's gold watch, still bearing a faint, dried stain that forensics would later confirm as DNA evidence Miller had suppressed. The perfect case was a house of cards, built on a foundation of corruption and greed. Emergency phone lines were scrambled, connecting the prison directly to the governor's office. Outside, the executioners were told to stand down just as they began the final preparations. While forensic teams rushed to the prison, a secondary search of Miller's vehicle revealed more trophies from the crime scene. The dog had done what the highest courts in the land had failed to do. He had sniffed out the truth buried under layers of official lies. The race against time was over, and for the first time in years, the crushing weight on Elias's chest lifted. He wasn't a dead man walking anymore. He was a man waiting to be reborn. As the first light of dawn broke over the prison walls, the heavy iron gates groaned open. But this time, they weren't letting a prisoner out for a walk. They were setting a free man loose. Elias stepped into the crisp morning air, his lungs filling with the scent of pine and freedom for the first time in years. Beside him, limping but proud, was Max. The old German shepherd's tail gave a slow, rhythmic wag as he looked up at his master, his job finally complete. The news of the corruption had already hit the headlines, but for Elias, the noise of the world didn't matter. All that mattered was the warmth of the fur beneath his hand. This story serves as a powerful reminder that while human systems are flawed and eyes can be deceived, the heart of a loyal companion never wavers. Justice may be blind, but a dog's loyalty sees through the darkest lies and the most complex conspiracies. Elias and Max walked toward the horizon, two souls bound by a truth that no prison could hold. If this story moved you, comment loyalty below, and don't forget to subscribe to join our community of incredible stories.